Good afternoon. We have a few folks joining, so we'll give folks just a minute and then we can dive into some content. We have a good group today. All right. Um, my name is Devon Mitchell. I work with student orgs and leadership. I am housed over at the West Campus, but we do have some other folks in the room as well. Chris, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name's Chris and I'm work with student orgs out of the Tempe campus.
Thanks, Chris. Today, we will have an opportunity to look at what funding requests look like in Sun Devil Sync, and then we've kind of peppered in some additional pieces as it relates to the funding requests. So we'll walk through those today. If at any time you have questions, definitely feel free to go ahead and drop that information into the Q&A component. Chris is going to be watching the questions and we will be able to address any questions after the fact. So definitely feel free to go ahead and use that option. But we'll go ahead and we will dive into content. We will be able to share this with you after on our YouTube page. And so you won't need to necessarily take a lot of notes today if you don't want to, because this presentation will be available to you. So today we'll go over some funding guidelines, funding processes and what those look like, diving into what a budget request looks like in Sun Devil Sync, as well as a purchase request. We'll talk a little bit about the special event registry and then campus reservations. We'll talk about catering and then check-in and event pass, because all of these likely go hand in hand as we are looking at requesting funding. So jumping into those funding guidelines, our student government is kind enough to be able to host and allow our clubs funding. One of the critical pieces as you look at funding through student government, if you are a student club, you need to have re-registered with our office, the Student Orgs and Leadership Office. And the club needs to not only re-register, but it needs to be approved. If you have not yet re-registered your club, those registration forms are still open. And when you go to your club page within Sun Devil Sync, you will see kind of a blue banner with a re-register button. So easy enough to go ahead and get that process started. We review those registrations when they come in, and if there are any issues, we'll let you know what needs to be fixed. If it's approved, then you're good to go. And that next step is being able to request funding through student government. So there are a few different timelines and processes to keep in the back of your mind as you're looking at funding. When we talk about funding guidelines, if you are looking at having any guest speaker come to campus, or if it's a travel request, those guidelines are indicating that those requests should come in 6 weeks in advance, at least 6 weeks in advance of your guest speaker or your travel request. And that's because there's additional paperwork that needs to be routed. So those are 6 weeks. Any other funding, so if it's an event funding, if it's club operations startup funding, those are 4 weeks in advance. And then the last piece to keep in mind is requests are due 24 hours prior to the appropriations or the Senate committee meeting or time designated by your student government on your team. So you'll get that information from your student government as they really get rolling in the fall in terms of the 24 hours prior, or if it's an additional ask. The other piece to keep in mind is Sun Devil Sync is going to be your best friend through the process. It's where student government will be reviewing your requests. They will be moving along in the process and dropping any comments there for you to let you know whether it's been approved, whether there's some adjustment that needs to be made. And so you really are going to want to make sure that you're checking Sun Devil Sync often. All right, so as we dive into funding guidelines, it's a two-part process for kind of that event funding, that club startup or club operations. So the first that you will start with is a budget request. That is going to be something that you create in Sundeville Sync. Your USG folks, your ASASU folks will review the back end process requests and make some decisions in regards to if it's approved in whole or what that looks like. You will get notified in Sundeville Sync, and then you will be able to turn it around and make a purchase request. And so you can only make that purchase request if your budget request was approved. So just keep in mind, it is that two-step process, and you don't go to step 2, purchase, until you've heard and gotten a response around your budget request. All right, when we really jump into this funding guidelines, there are a few different options. We have this operational and general club funding. So this is, we're looking to buy some merch particularly for our club. Maybe it is a table drape. Maybe it is polos for our members. The other option is startup club funding. So this is for new clubs. We're trying to get us started, and we need some funding to do that. So again, it could be similar. It could be that table drape. It could be the polos, but this is for brand new clubs. The third box is really that idea of event funding. So you are putting together an event that you want to offer to the campus community. You can go ahead and apply for event funding. The last box is the idea of travel and professional development funding. This is a really great opportunity that our student government, our ASASU, allots to individual students. You have the ability to apply for professional development funding for conferences or the like. So some important deadlines to keep in mind. We know July 1st is right around the corner. Our fall funding is opening July 1st in Sundeville Sync. So effective July 1, if you already know that you have something planned for Welcome Week, an event for Welcome Week where you want to welcome everyone back to your campus, go ahead and start submitting that request for funding July 1. The paperwork, the receipts, all of the kind of back end pieces, you'll see those are due the last day of class. And I say that with a caveat. If you are requesting something for an August 15th event, don't wait and get it in the last day of class. Take care of it right away. But this bullet of paperwork being due the last day of class, that's kind of that friendly reminder as you have events that are really happening towards the later part of the semester, that our business office needs everything wrapped up and submitted to them no later than that last day of class. Fast forwarding already to spring 2023, funding for anything that is scheduled to happen in spring, those requests will open December 5th. And again, that paperwork will be due the last day of class. All right, moving on a little bit. So the funding process. So this idea of that operational and the general club funding, the fall deadline for this is September 30th. And again, these requests must be submitted at least 4 weeks in advance. If you're good to go now and you say, hey, we're already doing something for de-stress week, the last week in November, and you have all your ducks in a row, you can submit now. But if you're one that is not completely planned out yet, and that's totally fine, know that things must be submitted 4 weeks in advance of the event or the ask for when your items would need to be here. So good question in regards to what falls under the idea of operational and general club funding. What can I purchase? So you can include durable marketing items, any giveaway items. We know everyone likes their merch. Any shirts, apparel, maybe it's the hats, name tags, internal organization events. So these are things that can really fall under the idea of operational and general club funding. Startup club funding. This fall deadline is November 4th. Again, we're working with that 4 weeks in advance. And what are those things that can be included in startup club funding? It's marketing items. It's any giveaway items and merch. It's shirts. It's name tags. So again, those new clubs, we didn't exist in the fall. You're going to request your startup club funding. Event funding. Again, we're looking at that deadline of November 4th. with at least 4 weeks in advance. If it's something that is a little bit more complex, our business team is really hoping for 6 weeks. Maybe you're having a speaker come to campus. Maybe there are a lot of moving parts to your event. 6 weeks allows that opportunity to make sure that everything arrives in time and paperwork on the back end is all set up. What is included in event funding? Lots of different things. So again, apparel, you're giving away your t-shirts for an event. Any marketing and promotional items, any equipment rental. Maybe you're working with AZ Bounce and getting bouncy houses. Any event supplies, any food, your guest speakers or performers, and then the idea to keep in mind is the permit and registration fees. So those all fall under event funding. The last piece in regards to different opportunities for requests are travel and professional development funding. So your fall deadline, again, it's a little different than that November 4th. This one is going to be October 21st. This request must be submitted 6 weeks in advance of your conference, your travel to a conference, that type of thing. What's included in this idea of travel and professional development funding? Any airfare and transportation that's going to get you where you need to be, any conference registration fees, any travel fees. Some things to keep in mind. Your advisor must be involved with the travel plans and the funding process as it relates to any of the travel and professional development funding. All travel must also adhere to ASU policies and the CDC travel guidelines to ensure that things are happening safely. All right, we're going to move on and take a look at what the budget request process looks like in Sendable Sync. So we've got some screenshots here. Once your club is registered and approved, you have your homepage in Sendable Sync. You have the ability, and when I say you, it is folks that are officers in the group. So a general club member will not have the ability to request a budget request for the club. It's just any of your officers that have a special user right to do so. So these folks would come in and click onto your hamburger menu, and it will pop open this menu that you see here on the left. You're going to scroll all the way down to finance, and you'll click in finance, and it's going to pull up the screen that talks about, okay, purchase requests. You're going to come to your right, the create request blue button, and you're going to start, right? Step one is your create budget request. You'll go ahead and you'll click on that. You're going to scroll down and you're going to look for your appropriate location. So you'll see we've got downtown, we've got graduate student orgs, poly, so on and so forth. And as you remember, we had a few, right? We had the club operations and general funding, we had startup funding, we had event funding. And so as you're scrolling down, you're going to want to make sure you're choosing not only your correct campus location, but also which is it that you're requesting? Is it that startup versus event funding? Once you click on that, you'll see this new screen pop up where it's asking for the title and a description. So go ahead and put the title of your event, and then your description is really your public purpose statement. This is where you're describing how these purchases or how this event is going to benefit the ASU student community. And so you may say, we will be purchasing food items from Fry's Supermarket. These food items will enhance the experience at our event to allow students to be connected and make connections with one another as well as staff, which will lead to student satisfaction and persistence to graduation. Lots of words to say we're offering food to students so that they're able to hang out and get connected. But it's really, really important that your public purpose is saying the why and how it benefits those in attendance, how it benefits the ASU student community. So then you'd continue to scroll down. So it's asking, okay, who is this that's submitting the request? So it's asking for some of your details. And why this is important is the ASASU student reps that are reviewing the request may want to get back to you with some questions. And so your email address and your phone number are very, very helpful. Your special event registry consideration. So this is really important. Any event that happens on campus, whether it's a large event or a smaller event, does need to fill out the special events registry. And we'll get to that here in a little bit. But right now it's asking some questions. And so it's really, if these apply, go ahead and fill these out. But the bottom line is anything that's in person on campus needs a special event registry. Special event registry forms should be completed at least 30 days in advance of your event or your meeting. You'll then come and start to really add your items. So you can see that the plus add item box, this is where you start to go ahead and say, okay, here's exactly what we're looking to purchase. Kind of scrolling here, so it's the line item category. So it's a drop down where it'll kind of ask you different options. Is this apparel? Is this food? So you select whatever is what you are looking at. The name, this is going to be the vendor that you're purchasing from. So for this example, it talks about Anton Sport. And then it's the description. So we have 20 t-shirts and 10 socks. I've gotten very detailed to say, I want this many of this. Now, this is for Anton. If we have another vendor that is not Anton, we're going to go ahead and do another line item for them. But if we are purchasing several items from the same vendor, we want to load it all here in this one description box. We can then see the quantity is set to 1. And you say, well, wait, but you said you were buying 30 things. The system is built in the way where we're saying I'm requesting $150. So you can see that cost here. And then the quantity is set to 1. So it's going to give me that grand total of $150. So to keep things simple, always just select your quantity as 1. And then your cost is the full cost that you were looking for that vendor. You then want to go ahead and upload your supporting documents. So any of your quotes, if Anton has sent you a quote in the shirt design, go ahead and load that here. If you are looking to purchase food items from the grocery store, go ahead and fill a cart online so that we can see what those items look like. Do not submit that, but it gives us the ability to see, okay, we're looking at this set of crackers and this set of cookies. So you always are going to want to go ahead and have your screenshots of what it is that you're looking to purchase. Sorry, Zoom was giving me a window that I needed to address there. Okay, so then moving on, we can see here, we've got our requested total. So this was from a different budget, but we're requesting $35. You can see, as we talked about the separate vendors. So this one, we were looking at 1 for $15 from Fry's and 1 for $20 for Starbucks. So then it gives the grand total of the $35. So each vendor has their own line. You really want to make sure before you're submitting that your totals look correct, that the event costs are separated by that vendor. All of your quotes are attached. One of the things to keep in mind is that idea of shipping and tax. I think sometimes we forget about that. You always want to build in some buffer because you know that there is tax attached to things. If everything looks good and you are confident, go ahead and submit. It is 100% okay to over request for funds. So when you're building in your buffers, go ahead and over request. You never want to under request. Okay, so kind of next steps. The Appropriations Committee or the Senate Committee through your student government will review all of your requests and they'll communicate the outcome to you. So it could be that you're fully approved. It could be that you're partially approved with stipulations, meaning something needs to be adjusted and resubmitted and or something wasn't approved. Or it could be that the entire component was denied. Once you are approved, you can complete the purchase request on Sun Devil Sync to be able to then move forward to that next step. So your purchase request process, it's going to look very similar to that budget. Again, you're going to that hamburger menu, you're going to that finance, and then you're going to come to create request. And at this point, it's the purchase request because you've already done the budget. So what's nice here is it's got this blue populate from budget button. If you click that, it's going to save you some time. Some things will auto populate for you. So go ahead and populate from budget. And let me go back. So the subject will populate, the description will populate, the amount will populate. Categories, you will need to manually come and say, hey, this was for event funding, this was club startup. So this will be something you need to take care of. And then your account will also be another drop down that you'll need to adjust. And the account is the name of your club. You'll only have one option there. All right, so kind of moving on, as we fill out this request, you have the ability with these two, you're going to select each vendor name to fill out the form. So if I clicked on fries, it would take me to those next steps to be able to fill out what I need to fill out for fries. And same with Starbucks. So again, we're looking at, tell us, which government are you requesting money for? Who is the requester? Again, that phone number and email address. Go ahead and give us an idea of the total number of items that you're looking for. So again, very detailed. The 2 dozen chocolate chip cookies, the 1 dozen muffins, and then the 2 jugs of juice. And then your public purpose statement. What's really helpful here is open Sun Devil Sync in one browser as you're filling out the purchase request. Go ahead and open it in another browser with your budget request. Open up your budget request, copy that public purpose, and then paste it in here. This is one of those that does not copy over. So if you just open it into another tab, it makes it really easy and you don't need to recreate again. So with your purchase request, one thing to keep in mind is reimbursement. You'll see this takes time and it's capitalized. We really, really, really do ask that you refrain from reimbursement. There are other ways that make things easier in terms of being able to purchase. So there is the idea of the purchasing card. So this is where you would work with your business office to take out the P card and be able to purchase items online. There are certain things that cannot be purchased. For example, anything from Staples and anything from Amazon cannot go on the purchasing card. Those are purchases that the business office will take care of for you. And so if you remember where we were talking about the pictures of your items and really getting detailed about what you were buying, that's a perfect example of why. Because Staples and Amazon orders are placed by our business office. So if you're very detailed about what you want to purchase, they likely will be able to find exactly what you've provided to them and make those purchases. But if you're looking to go make a Walmart.com purchase or you're going to the grocery store, you can make an appointment for that purchasing card. Another option is invoices. This is a pretty common payment when we work with Airmark. Airmark is our food provider, and so they will send our business office an invoice on the back end. Others, if you're looking at a vendor who's going to have bouncy houses, those aren't something that we can pay on purchase card, but they are pretty familiar with our idea of the invoices, and they work with us pretty well there. All right, some other options here. You're going to go ahead and upload any invoices that you might have or receipts. If you are purchasing food, a business meals form, otherwise known as a BMF, needs to be submitted. So sometimes you're purchasing ice to keep drinks cold and you have no intention of anyone ever putting the ice in their mouth. For all intents and purposes, ice is still considered a food that is put in your mouth. One time we had folks request some sugar and honey to make face scrubs. Again, not being consumed, but that is a consumable component. And so the business meals form did need to be filled out. Anytime anything is consumable, could be consumable, go ahead and fill out this business meals form. You're able to upload any screenshots of your items here again. And then if all looks good, go ahead and submit your request. Some important things to keep in mind with your purchase requests. You're going to want to submit your documentation a minimum of 2 weeks in advance. If your purchase is over $4,000, go ahead and look at 4 weeks in advance. One of the lessons learned is, as we said, Business Office does place our Amazon orders. This past year, I think we were seeing a lot of just delays with Amazon orders coming in. It's simply where we're at with supply chain right now. And so you want to give yourself the buffer room in case something is out of stock and or something happens with delayed shipping. So the sooner you can get that purchase request in, the sooner your items can be ordered if it's that Amazon or Staples component, the sooner that you're able to go ahead and make that P card request so that you can do the shopping and have your items on hand. So if it's your event day, you don't have to stress about shopping. Other things to keep in mind, make sure that all your documents are correct and they're attached to the request. And then the purchases are made based on what you're submitting in the purchase request, not that budget request. So that's why we're saying get very detailed in regards to what you're buying, how many you're buying, and those screenshots. One thing to keep in mind is if you've requested something through your budget request, you do need to request the same through the purchase. You can't, for example, go ahead and say, I want to buy 15 face masks in my budget request and then turn around and say, oh, I actually want to buy 30 sweatshirts. Two different things. Those would be two separate requests. So you want to make sure whatever you were requesting in budget is the same in the purchase request. This idea of your P card appointment. So you'll work with your business office on your campus to check out the P card. The P card is checked out for 2 hours at a time, and it's important to keep that in mind because there could be other students that are waiting for you to return that P card on time so that they can go out and do their shopping as well. Another thing to keep in mind is itemized receipts are critical. If you are shopping, please make sure that you are getting that itemized receipt that indicates, okay, yes, the 20 pairs of socks at $4 each. Another request that is a bit new to us is making sure that you're getting separate receipts for food and non-food items. So that likely will mean two separate transactions at the same vendor. The next box here is our vendor box. So vendors must be registered through ASU in order to be paid. This can take some time. It could take up to 4 weeks for the vendor to be paid after the event. We cannot pay for services prior to the event. Another key thing to keep in mind is vendors may ask you to sign a contract. Please do not sign the contract. You all do not have signing ability. Go ahead and work with your student orgs and clubs team to assist you in routing those documents for signature if the vendor is indicating that that must be happening. The last thing to keep in mind is if a vendor is providing an invoice to you, so I'll go back to our AZ Bounce example, please make sure that the invoice is listing ASU and not your name as the individual that is responsible for payment. All right, so we're moving along. This looks like a long list. There are some things that we are not permitted to buy on a P card. Alcohol. That's a pretty common one that would make sense. We can't purchase sun cards. We can't purchase flowers or live animals. Gift cards, unfortunately, are something that we cannot purchase. Postage. There is a list. Make sure that you are familiar with that list. Another component over on the right side of the screen, it's talking about food. So food and bottled water. We do have a list of approved vendors that have been vetted through the university to ensure that their health and safety standards are top notch. There are times when you might find that you want to get food or juice from another vendor that is not on the list and is not a grocery store. There is a special application in which the vendor can fill out to be approved for a one-day service. We really would recommend for ease for you to become familiar with the food providers list, and that's linked here. And if that vendor just can't, the vendors listed here cannot provide what you're looking for, then you can start looking at this application for vendors. Another really just quick and easy thing to keep in mind is Aramark, who is our food provider on campus. They will provide the food for you as well as utensils, and it's easy. There's no running around to need to get things. Grocery stores, another great option because their items are sealed. Everything is pre-regulated and authorized to be able to sell food. That is an easy place where you can go ahead and get your food as well. All right, things to keep in mind. Your business meals form that must be included anytime anything consumable is requested. Your P card. If you are looking at again, now Walmart.com, and you're looking to have items shipped, everything must be shipped to campus. It cannot be shipped to you. You should work with your student orgs and leadership team for more information in regards to the address, as well as who should be listed as the recipient of that shipping. Any order pickup. The person that's making the request can be the person that is able to pick up the orders when they come in. Go ahead and work with your student orgs and leadership team or your business office to know where the place is for the pickup of your items. Online orders. We all know we get the emails and confirmations saying your order has shipped. This is when it should be coming in. Go ahead and have those items, those emails sent to your business office so that they're aware, because they're the ones picking up the bill. They're in charge of the P card. And so it's helpful if they have that information. The last but not least on this screen, all receipts need to be turned into the business office. Please don't lose your receipts. They definitely come in handy when we're able to say, here's what was purchased, here's why. So those are critical. All right, moving on, your special event registry. So as we talked about, anything that's happening in person, it's a meeting, it's an event, the special event registry does need to be submitted. As you're working through the special event registry, one of the things that's going to ask is, where can we find your event in Sun Devil Sync? Please provide that link. So everything's kind of linked. You need to put your event in. You need to go ahead and put your budget request in. You need to put your special event registry in. So just a reminder, these special event registries do need to be submitted a minimum of 30 days prior to the event. And in order to get your funding, ASU does need to ensure that your special event registry has been submitted. There are several sections to this, so you're going to want to go ahead and make sure that you've submitted everything. A question often is advisors and where do they need to be at events? So your advisors are fantastic people and would like to be able to support you as you need. So please communicate what you need from your advisor. As it relates to events, if your event is open to the general public, so non-ASU, advisor should be there. If it involves potential security issues, hazardous activities, equipment rentals, large crowds, advisor should be there. If the media will be present, advisor should be there. VIPs, elected officials, donors, anyone who travels with a security detail, advisor should be there. Other than that, definitely communicate with your advisor. What are the events that you would like them at and how can they best support you? All right, campus reservations. As you look at hosting your event, you're going to want to make sure that you've gotten your space reserved. And so there are some great spaces on campus, whether it's the Sun Devil Fitness Complex, whether it's academic classrooms. So different contacts here to be able to go ahead and make your room reservations. I'm going to tell you, fall is already booking. So if you have your ideas of events, go ahead and get your reservations in now. The last column here is our Aramark catering email. They can work with you, let them know that you're a student group and you'd like to see the student catering menu, and they'll really work with you within your budget. Moving on for some other reservations. Tempe, if you're looking at outdoor reservations versus indoor reservations, there's two separate links to go ahead and start to do some exploration there. Downtown, post office, the library, Taylor Mall, and then spaces in between. West for Fletcher, SDFC, UCB, you can go ahead and email them. And then Poly, the Student Union Reservations. And if you're looking for library study rooms, there's a number here. So lots of different opportunities and places to host. Catering. So as we talked about, we've got some amazing catering staff here on campus that will totally work with you as a student group. Let them know that you're a student group and let them know what your budget is, what you're looking for, and they will likely be able to make it work for you. You can start to explore the menu here if you'd like, or you can go ahead and simply email them. All right, we talked a little bit about that list of approved food vendors. It is critical that you make sure that you are utilizing that list of approved vendors. One thing to keep in mind there are specific spaces on your campus in which the only food permitted to be served there is Aramark food. So become familiar with those spaces. Your student orgs team will have that information. Your event planning checklist. We are getting down to the end, folks. Make sure that you're reserving that event space. You're creating the event on Sun Devil Sync. You're submitting your special event registry. You're applying for any funding that's needed through Sun Devil Sync. If it's catering, make sure you get that order in. Make sure you're advertising your event, putting your flyers on, putting your social media on, and then you're doing any follow-up that is needed with any of your vendors, making sure that your club members have everything good to go, making sure your shopping is done early. Check-in app. Hopefully folks are familiar with this. One of the things that is critical this coming year as we are requesting funding, that we have attendance logged to be able to provide to our business team. Here's who attended the event. Here's who was in attendance, to be able to prove that this is why we ordered as much food as we did, or why we had 15 sweatshirts. So within Sun Devil Sync, there's the ability to check students in. As a club officer, or maybe it's a club member that is assisting with attendance, you're going to go ahead and download to your phone the Campus Labs event check-in app. You'll load that to your phone, and then when you go into your Sun Devil Sync event, so for example, this Event Planning 101, there's an access code here. What I simply do is I copy that, and then I open up my Campus Labs event check-in, and I deposit that copied code right here in my event code. I start my session. That's going to allow me to use my camera to go in and start scanning people in. So I'm an attendee and I don't know how to get my event pass. Well, great. I'm a club officer and I can help you do that. So what you would have someone do is go ahead and open their Sun Devil Sync, and this person's first name starts with an H. So they're going to click on, their letter. That is going to then open up a new menu. Here at the top, it talks about Event Pass. So this is a specialized QR code that lives with you throughout your life, so it will not change. It's really, really easy to just encourage folks to save this to their Apple Wallet or their Google Wallet. Occasionally, folks will go ahead and take a screenshot and save it to their camera roll, but if you're like me, you're scrolling through 1,000 pictures to go ahead and find that, and that's difficult. So the Apple Wallet, the Google Wallet is the easiest. And then it's super simple to have a student pull up their Event Pass QR code, and as you've started your session in that app, you just scan them in and it'll go ahead and grab their attendance. This is a lot of information. Likely you will have questions, and if you don't today, you may throughout the year. Please keep in mind you've got great resources, whether any of the campuses can really address your questions, but get to know your student orgs and clubs team. You've got your Tempe contact info, your downtown, your West, and your Poly. So please, as there are questions, get to know, ask those questions, email, call, stop in. We love visitors, so definitely stop in.